4:23 a.m. I didn't imagine it. I'm not insane. My vision may have been distorted as a result of my excessive alcohol consumption, but I know what I saw. I know it was real. I've sat in the bath full of cold water for the past hour to try to shake the feeling of being covered in blood. Her blood. 5 hours earlier. It must have been about 11 p.m. when I stumbled through my front door. Perhaps stumbled is an understatement. I quite literally collapsed from how mentally exhausted I was, and all I wanted to do was sleep. It had been exactly 6 months since Hannah went missing, and despite my efforts of distracting myself, I knew it'd take more than several vodka shots and the burning sensation that was left in my throat to stop me from thinking about her. Hannah is my younger sister. She's an introverted, yet somewhat jittery 16-year-old that always looks unsettled in a way, which is why I don't believe she ran away. No, she was kidnapped. She was kidnapped for sure. The last person that saw Hannah on the night of her disappearance was her friend as she was leaving the party, until I walked into my kitchen and saw her sitting on the floor tonight. Hannah? I sputtered as I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust my sight to the dark room. There was no response. All she did was sit on the floor with her back against the fridge, hugging her knees to her chest. Without hesitation, I slammed my fist against the light switch to illuminate the kitchen. But before I could run towards her, there were 3 loud bangs against the window. I looked up to see my sister, Hannah, on the other side of the glass. Although her voice was muffled, the terror-stricken expression on her face, which was covered in smudged makeup, made it clear what she was saying. In between sobs, she was telling me to get out. Get out. I switched my attention to the girl that sat on my floor, who was now staring at me. I swiftly turned around and grabbed the door handle, but it wouldn't open. It wouldn't even turn. While I was frantically trying to move the handle, I locked eyes with the girl in my kitchen, who was now slowly standing. She wore the same baggy, faded pink sweater that Hannah always wore. However, it was ripped and soaked with blood, which caused the material to cling to her petite frame. I glanced over to the window, but Hannah was no longer there. Had she gone to get help? Vigorously slammed my body repeatedly into the door, but it was futile. Then the girl started to speak, and my whole body froze. I found you, she whispered, emotionlessly, not moving her empty eyes from mine. Where's my sister? This can't be her, I thought to myself. The way that she was menacingly glaring at me, Hannah would never look at me that way. The girl standing in front of me looked inhuman and drained of life. Even though she looked identical to Hannah, I knew it wasn't her. Without a doubt, that was my sister outside, and I needed to get to her. I wasn't going to lose her again. Suddenly, the girl threw herself onto me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I yelled as I thrust my body forwards, but she squeezed me harder. Mindlessly, I kneed her in the stomach and reached for the kettle and swung it to hit her in the head. As she fell to the ground, the door burst open from behind me. It was Hannah. The real Hannah. She clung onto my arm and cried while I stood in stunned silence, staring at the unconscious girl who was identical to my sister. She was laying in a pool of blood. It must have been about 2 minutes that I stood there, but Hannah's chillingly cold hands, which were gripped so tightly onto my arm, made it feel as though I were standing there for hours. As cold as she felt, her fingertips burned my skin. Suddenly she let go and walked towards the girl. She still hadn't moved an inch. Hannah pressed her fingers to the girl's neck to feel her pulse. She waited a few seconds and looked up at me, shaking her head. Had I killed her? No, she was bleeding still. She would have bled out anyway. I knew I had to do something, but I had to sort out Hannah first. I decided that I should put her to bed, and that we would talk about everything in the morning. I didn't want to overwhelm her, as she had been gone for so long. So I washed her face, tucked her into my bed, and decided that I needed to have a bath to take it all in. 4:23 a.m. I was covered in the blood of that girl, and my stomach churned at the thought of her lifeless body on my kitchen floor. She couldn't have been human. Even the way she walked made her look monstrous. Hannah hadn't spoken to me at all while I was putting her to bed, which really worried me. All she did was stare blankly, but I chalked it up to her being traumatized and being gone for the past 6 months. All she needed was sleep, and all I needed to do was concentrate on keeping her safe. I stepped out of the bath, still feeling dazed from the earlier experience. As much as I didn't want to deal with the dead body in my kitchen, I knew I had to before Hannah woke up. So I slowly crept downstairs. I stood outside the kitchen door. Why was I afraid to go in? What was I afraid would happen? My throat felt sore as if I had swallowed razor blades. I gulped and pushed open the door. She was gone. Everything was gone. The body, the blood, and my kitchen had returned to an immaculate state. I stepped backwards and screamed as I nearly tripped over my own feet. Oh God. Hannah! I sprinted up the staircase to my bedroom where Hannah was sleeping. I pushed open my door and collapsed to my knees. My head started spinning, and all I could see was an ocean of crimson. Blood stained my carpet and had been sprayed up the walls. The dead girl from downstairs had been cut up. Parts of her body were spread all around the room, including the head, which had been decapitated. Above her sat a girl with long black hair, black eyes, and ghostly pale skin. She looked up from her cupped hands, which were holding something what looked like the heart of the girl, and slowly smiled at me, her mouth and razor-sharp teeth glinting with blood. That's not my sister. My sister is currently scattered about my bedroom. It was her all along. While hyperventilating and paralyzed with fear, I managed to make out the words written in blood on my wall. You chose the wrong one. And before I could catch my breath, the creature sank her teeth into the heart of my sister and croaked, I found you.
Hi, 207, it's Miss Viola Swamp. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Go check out my Facebook page and leave suggestions for stories you want to hear. I hope to see you in class next time.